Good afternoon. Welcome to WNY High School Football Weekly. This is our fourth episode. Frank Wolf, along with Tom Prince, on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. Tom, we're getting serious now. It's getting serious.
You're starting to see a lot of things shape up. There's no doubt about it. You're starting to see, who's for real, who's going to compete for some of those playoff spots. We're seeing some big-time Conley Cup candidates really step up. We're seeing Trench Trophy candidates really step up. There's no doubt we're starting to learn a lot about Western New York high school football.
And we're going to learn a heck of a lot more after this weekend with some of the matchups we have. How good is Orchard Park? Was that just a little bit of a hiccup against Lancaster because they got Bennett coming in this week? You've got, to me, the game of the weekend, CSP and Randolph. Those two big-time Class D schools going at it undefeated 3-0. They meet up at Panama at 12:30 on Saturday. I might be a little excited about that one.
Oh, listen, you should be excited about that one. That's a great game right there. Also, how about Medina Akron? Two undefeated teams going to go at each other.
We're going to get into that one. The Mustangs welcome the Tigers into town. You're going to be doing that game. So,
Will South Park?
Yeah.
Will South is for real. I mean, if anyone's going to downplay them, you're crazy. But I'll tell you this. I'm never going to bet against South Park. I'll tell you that. They're always ready. They are always ready to play, no doubt about it.
They are ready. We're ready to kick things off again with our fourth episode of this season for the WNY High School Football Weekly. Before we get too involved here, I want to send a major shout-out to the entire Carthage high school football community. They lost their JV player who was injured Saturday. A 14-year-old boy got injured in that game, and he passed away from his injuries. His name was Tyler Chrisman, so shout-out to that family and that program. Devastating. That section, I believe that's Section 3 out there.
Yep, Section 3. In fact, the last time we called their game was them against Cornwall for a state championship.
Yeah, so this is just a JV kid, but still, nonetheless, devastating news out of there. At the same time on Long Island, a 15-year-old wide receiver by the name of Sofia Laspina is the first female to score a touchdown in a high school football game out on Long Island. So congratulations to her. That was a pretty good, nice, at least a nice story after the one we had to lead off with. Also, today we learned that Rick Hopkins from Williamsville coaches the girls hockey, huge in the Williamsville school system. He's a legend there. His daughter passed away. So our condolences to the Hopkins family on that news. WNY Athletics is thinking all about you guys. He's a great guy. Love seeing him at the rinks. That's tough news to take today. But we're going to move on and do our football show today. Tom, why don't I read through the Conley Cup kids and Trench trophies, and then we'll lead into all these top performers that you did all your homework again. The Conley Cup Ad Pro Sports Week 3 top performers include Trevor Berry, Iroquois, Kendall Donovan, Williamsville North, Tyler Fiziola from Grand Island, Alexander Fletcher they call him Xander, from Niagara Wheatfield, Peril, Fulgham, South Park, Jason Green, Lockport, Mike Hayes, West Seneca, East, Justice Hill, Maryville, Maddock, Isaac from Salamanca, Jaden Kennedy, Lakeshore, Carson, Marcus, Starpoint, Lucas, Marsh, Franklinville, Ellicottville, Luke Paget, Randolph, Rashad Perry, Bennett, Jamestown, Walsh, Southwestern, Jacob Zimmerman, Lancaster. Those are your Week 3 Conley Cup Ad Pro Sports top performers. And then the Trench Trophy nominees, Ian Barons from Lancaster, Stefan Fearon from Lockport, Terry Jerku from Maryvale, Kyle Keefe, Falconer, Casadega, Maple Grove, Ethan Moyes from Williamsville North, Hunter O'Donnell, Lakeshore, and Alex Rogalski from West Seneca East. Congratulations to those guys. This past week, I got to see the kid from Williamsville North and West Seneca East on this trench. We talked to Kyle Keefe before the season when we did our preview of Casadega Valley. And then Conley Cup, the kids I saw this week, I saw Kendall Donovan, Williamsville North. He's a lightning fast player. He's got a lot of tools to work with fast, good hands, great breakaway speed. You'd be excited to watch this kid play. He was pretty good. So that was, again, Kendall Donovan. And I also saw the kid Mike Hayes, West Seneca East. There was a couple of nice, tough, hard runners out of that program going pretty strong, Tom. You saw a number of these kids. You saw Jacob Zimmerman, Lancaster earlier. We saw Rashad Perry a few times with Bennett. So you saw a number of these kids. And you saw Trevor Berry from Iroquois. So
yeah, taking after his brother there.
Yeah. And we also saw earlier in the year we saw Peril Fulgham. So good to see a Lockport kid get on here as well. Those are your Connolly Cup and Trench Trophy nominees for Week 3. Getting down to business, Tom, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow you are taking a crew out to All High for that Will South Park matchup. South Park is on a roll right now after losing their first game. They seem to have things under control right now as they head into Week 4. Still not on the radar from the New York State public rankings scope, but I think that's going to change, especially if they can get this a big win tomorrow over Will South. I like that Billy's team. You said that we need to pay a little bbit more attention to Craig Krzansky's club. I agree with you 100%. How do you see them matching up against South Park tomorrow?
Should be a great matchup, right? And the key to that first week with the South Park, with the Sparks, was 3 turnovers, right? That happened. A lot of turnovers, which contributed to the loss. The question is, can Will South get those turnovers that are needed to happen for you to be able to have an upset over South Park?
So we'll have to wait and see. I know that, I think his last name is Tasca, the quarterback at Will South. He's got a pretty decent arm and a good handle on that offense. So if Will South can keep a balanced attack, maybe keep the ball out of Willoughby's hands of South Park, anything can happen. And the fact that it's at All High and we're doing the game, we're live streaming that. I'm excited I'll be able to watch that one.
It's been amazing to watch what Willoughby's done as far as numbers are going so far this year.
Absolutely.
Hey, before we do it, you know how you normally do your little rant before we start?
You got a rant?
I got 2 of them that I really want to bring up, right?
All right.
One is coaches. We want to do everything we can to recognize your players. Please, if you haven't put stats out on your players, please put it out there. All it's doing is stopping us from recognizing kids so that they can have something to help recognize to colleges, to coaches, to next level, whatever it is. Help us help those kids, because that's exactly what this show is all about, to be able to recognize as many players as we can. So please, if you haven't done your stats, get them done for us. Second, you want us to come live stream your games? Support your school. Watch it. Share it. Like it. Do whatever it is on social media. If you want us to come there, then you got to support your team. Same thing, not only your team, your sport. You want us to start doing more soccer? You want us to start doing more volleyball? You want us to do more swimming? Support your sport. Go out there, make sure you watch it, make sure you like it, make sure you share it, make sure you comment on it. You do all that, and I'm telling you, we'll see it loud and clear, and we'll be there. Sorry, that was my rant.
That's okay. You get a rant every 3 shows. I'm not going to rant today. I did enough ranting. If you look at the sideline report, it wasn't really a rant. It was more of those kids that their seasons are over because of one injury. Yeah. You saw a tough one just past
Medina.
weekend. So I mean, you saw a tough one. I saw a tough one at a lower level, tough to watch. But you could still be a good teammate just because you're not on the field. You could still support your teammates by getting out there and doing the little things. Maybe whatever the coach asks you to do, or maybe you can ask the coach, what do you need? What can you do to help this team? It sucks standing around, not being able to get in there for the huddle and all that stuff, but there's other things you can do to be a good teammate. So I encourage you to seek out your coach, and you're not bothering him. Tell him, I'm here to help. What can I do?
I was at one of Orchard Park's practices the other day, and Dobosh, who was out with a broken collarbone, we saw attending practice. I saw him picking stuff up after the practice. I saw him in there trying to help out. I saw him listening to his coaches, listening in the huddles. Boy, he wanted to be a part of that team and made sure he was a part of it.
All right. Well, we did a Connolly Cup Trench Trophy. We talked about the Thursday night game that we're doing. The other 2 Thursday night games are Star Point, North Tonawanda. You'll be able to catch that on WNYO. Tony Caligiuri's got the call for that one. And it's at North Tonawanda. Joe Kraus on the PA, one of my favorites. And then the other Thursday night game that we were going to try and stream, but we just don't have enough people to help, is Tonawanda at Wilson. And we just did Tonawanda last week. We did Wilson the week before. So, we did get those teams already. Let's go through Monsignor Martin, these classes. Monsignor Martin, Canisius got a big win this past week over McKeesport in Pennsylvania. They were 3-1, or they were 3-0 before that game. So Canisius hands them their first loss. It's Canisius Joe's week, It doesn't have the flavor that it normally does because Joe's is just not as strong a program, and Canisius just looks like they could beat the world at this point. So we are streaming that game because it just played out. We weren't planning on doing it, but it just with the amount of people we have and proximity to a headquarters, that's the game that we chose to do. So we are doing Canisius Joe's this week, and those two schools it is a rivalry. A lot of alumni, but I don't know how close it's going to be. I feel bad even having to say that, but
they're struggling this year. I mean, it's nothing that anybody hasn't seen, but I'm not ready to crown Canisius just yet. Watch out. Franley's going to have something to say about this, right? And St. Francis looks good doing the same thing going outside of Western New York with a couple big wins themselves. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see that matchup. That, to me, could be Game of the Year potential.
That's Week 8. St. Mary's is back in action this week, as is Timon and O'Hara. O'Hara got their first game under their belt. Franklinville, Ellicottville, I think they get them this week. Did I read that right? Or I'm not sure where O'Hara is, but I'll figure it out. Wait a second. O'Hara. Yeah, Franklinville, Ellicottville comes to Tonawanda to take them on. So that's just my computer. Yeah. St. Mary's is back in action. Timon is back in action, I believe, somewhere. We'll figure that out exactly where they are. JFK and Timon. That could be a real close one. Two programs that are struggling right now to get wins, so we'll have to wait and see how that. But those big horses from St. Mary's, Lewis, the running back. We were talking a little bit earlier, Tom. Guys, and we'll talk in depth about this, but Lewis could be having a 2,000-yard season, depending on how many games he plays.
But you got to remember, is if he plays any of those, big Monsignor Martin schools too, will he have the rushing yards he needs to out of those games? That's yet to be seen. Of course, we'll see.
I don't think they play Franny's they don't play Franny's or Canisius, so that takes that away.
Yeah. So it all depends on matchups and different things like that, as we know. But the way he started off, and again, he was one of 300-yard runners last week.
Yeah.
We didn't have any 300-yard runners this week, but we still had 3 good 200-yard games that we'll be talking about.
In Double A, I got a chance to watch Will North and Hutch Tech on Saturday. Will North has got some players, Tom. The Kendall Donovan kid, it's exciting. He took the opening kick all the way back, and then he followed it up with a touchdown reception, then a couple of rushing touchdowns. He was an exciting player to watch. Very worthy of a Connolly Cup nomination, someone that we should probably take a look at down the road. Bennett's rolling. They coming out to Orchard Park this week. Another big win for them. And
listen, you know what? Also, we learned a lot about Clarence. That team's for real, right? Yeah. They gave Bennett everything in that game, and I do not want to discount that Canisius is not in the upper echelon of that Double A. They are. They got a line out there to prove it, and that line is something. Because I'll tell you, it sounds like there were just a couple plays in that Canisius Bennett game that could have gone. Well, I'm sorry. For Clarence Bennett, I apologize. That could have gone the other way in that Clarence game, and really we could have been talking about Clarence coming up with a win. Bennett does a great job, but you're talking about you had line-on-line strength right there, and just unbelievable what we saw. They're going to be – I can't wait to see Clarence play against Orchard Park and Lancaster, and let's see what happens in those games to see if they're ready to really take that next step. But I'll tell you, this Bennett team is for real. Not only this, I'm going to throw a shout-out back to Week 1. What does it say for Western New York Maritime when they did a 16-0 and only held them to one drive and a touchdown? Boy, we're not giving them enough credit.
I told you.
Yep.
I know. I got blasted enough for speaking up for Maritime. But we'll talk about that when we get down into the B's. But that's pretty much where we are with Double A's right now. Lancaster, huge win over Orchard Park. I mean, people thought this was the year Orchard Park was going to get over on Lancaster, but Lancaster had something to say about that. They played defensively. They were just amazing.
Defensively blitzed like crazy. Defense was hit every spot they hit every hole they needed to do. Ben Gasella did not have enough time to throw the ball, and because of that, Lancaster comes out with a big win.
Lancaster will head to Niagara Falls on Saturday. Of course, Bennett Orchard Park is going to happen on Friday. Clarence and Will North Friday. Or Saturday. It's got to be the wrong time. 7 p.m. Clarence and Will North Friday at Will North. That's a huge game. We'll try and get someone out there to get some reporting on that one. And now we move down into the A's, where Jamestown got past Frontier last week at home. You saw Jalen Buter at another pretty big game.
Can I make one comment on a kid that I want to do in their game?
Go ahead.
In that Clarence game,
yes.
right? So here, I want some stats here. I want to see the last time you heard this one, folks. At quarterback, Garrett White goes 9 for 16 with 129 yards and a touchdown. Then he rushes for 13 carries for 118 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, I agree. We've seen quarterbacks do that plenty of times, if not more. Then the quarterback goes to play defense and has 18 tackles defensively. That you don't see very often. It just shows, boy, here's a kid going on both sides of the ball is something. And that running back, Raymond, talked about it, is absolutely someone you're going to be able to deal with both offensively and defensively himself.
So White showing his versatility in that game yet again for Clarence. And they're not done. They're not out of it. We'll come back. We'll talk more about double A's in the coming weeks, of course. But moving on, again, A's, Jamestown gets by Frontier. They're coming up to West Seneca West this Friday night, a game that we're going to show in tape delay on WNY Athletics. Hamburg's starting to really make some noise, Tom.
Noise? You better recognize Hamburg, because they are for real. They are ready to now say, you didn't count us in the beginning. We're here, and we're here to stay.
Well, Devin Collins is picking up the ball and running with it. He's got that team on his back right now. I don't know much about that program outside of Devin Collins, but I'm looking forward to introducing myself to that program.
Yeah, Nolan Hevern, the quarterback right there, is also a big leader on that team. But those two together are definitely producing something. Think about this, just on the ground. Devin Collins, 18 carries, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then Nolan Hevern from the quarterback position, 13 carries for 79 yards himself. You're talking about there 230 yards just between the two of them on the ground.
So on Friday night, they're going to play Amherst, a team that hasn't won yet. But then it gets a really tricky. We're going to find out exactly how good they are, because I don't know how healthy West Seneca West was last week when they played them. Even still, you get Amherst this week, and that should be a game Hamburg should win. If they're not reading other press clippings and thinking they're better than they are and that sort of thing, which, typically could happen to young kids. We're all guilty of it. But they got to go to Will South after that. Then they're home against Jamestown, and then South Park at All High, and then Frontier. So they've got Amherst this week. They need that win big. They need that win, Tom.
Oh, yeah.
They can't be thinking about Will South the week after. They need that win, and then we're going to see exactly how good the Bulldogs are. This is a gauntlet of gauntlet. Will South, Jamestown, South Park, Frontier. I mean, you can't breathe.
You need to win one. You need to win at least one. If you don't win one, you're not getting the top 4.
And they deserve to be in the top 4. But
absolutely. But you got to win one of those.
Yep. We're going to find out exactly how good they are. This is going to be in, maybe we have to. We don't have, just so everyone knows, we don't have the rights to do AA and A on Friday nights, other than Jamestown home games. People are sending messages all over to Facebook and everything. Why? It's about time you do this team. Well, we know the teams we need to be doing. We're not, no one pays more attention to every single team than we do. We know who's good. We love to do every game. We're maybe 2 crews a night max. You're more than welcome to buy a camcorder. You're more than welcome to buy a laptop and go out and stream the game for your school. And you could do the play-by-play if you want. So, don't always look to us like we got to be at 50 games a week. It's impossible. We're not even doing enough. We're not even doing the volleyballs and soccer games that we want to try to do. So, anyways, folks out there, calm down. Again,
you said no rants today. You told me no rants.
I know. I'm thinking about this lady. Why aren't you doing South Park? We told you 100 times we can't. Otherwise, we would be. But we are doing South Park tomorrow. So
this is going to be a great game. Battle of the running backs in this one at Amherst, right? You're going to be talking about, you got Teddy McDuffie that has been putting up some big yards, and then you got Devin Collins. This is going to be a head-to-head matchup as who's going to stop the running backs.
So Hamburg's got that gauntlet. We'll have to see how good they do over the next 4 to 5 weeks here. Sharing the top spot with Jamestown. South Park, big game for them tomorrow against Will South. Will South is trying to get back into the fight here because we think they could be a playoff team. But we knew this, Tom, heading into the season, that A South was going to be a tough division.
Yep.
Williamsville East, they're 0-3. Their quarterback had like 5 or 6 touchdowns last week. Talk about do you have the numbers on the quarterback from last week for Will East?
On the Will East
one? He
one?
had a hell of a week.
I don't think, and
I know they lost, but he had like 5 touchdowns.
no,
in
they
that
unfortunately didn't have any stats. That was one of our teams that didn't have stats.
I saw an email come through from Coach Torillo, but the stats weren't up in time. But they actually have some pieces that are starting to play a little bit better, and it's one of those things where who are you starting your season off at? South, you got South Park, so that this South Division is crazy. Frontier 2-1, lost to Jamestown. We'll have to wait and see. West Seneca West 1-2. I mean, they want to have something to say about this, and they host Jamestown
with a win over South Park.
Yeah,
right.
So,
I mean, so is right now is listen. They're going to be in. Remember, we said that one win you needed over those, right? They got one of them. They still got to go after one more of those wins in the top 4.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about A North. So you still got Sweet Home up there at 3-0. Star Point's another 3-0. They're 2-0 because they had that game against McKinley squashed.
Huge numbers in Star Point this past week.
Yes. Now they beat Kenmore East, a team that's also played 2 games. Why don't you give us Carson Marcus's numbers?
24 for 31 with 301 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and then the 2 top receivers for that one. Evan Floss has 11 receptions for 135 yards, 4 touchdowns of the receiver, and then Evan Dean, 6 receptions for 119 yards with a touchdown.
So Star Point is going to play North Tonawanda tomorrow. And North Tonawanda is still a team that's trying to find themselves. You know, they've got a couple of wins. Oh, they got the one win for sure over Kenmore East.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see. They got trounced by Clarence and Lockport. I think they lost last week. So
yeah, Lockport beat up on them.
So we'll have to see how good they are this week when they match up against Star Point. It is a home game for them on Thursday. Grand Island started with that opening loss. Was it the first week or second week? They lost to Orchard Park. They beat up Cheektowaga in week 1, and they are now 2-1, Tom.
But in conference, they're undefeated.
In conference, yes. So
I've been telling you, Grand Island right now is to me is the team to beat right now in the North.
Okay.
When you're talking about complete team, I really like what I see right now from Grand Island. You've got the quarterback play, you've got the running back play, and you've got a good defense. I'm telling you, right now, to me, that's your number 1 seed.
Yeah, and I don't totally disagree there, but I do like the running game at Sweet Home.
Yep.
I really like the running attack that they have there. They go to Lockport Saturday, 2 p.m., and Lockport is no joke. I mean, they're down from AA. I know their record shows 1-2, but they have the loss to Lancaster, and then they lost a tough one to Kenmore West this past weekend. So they are a better team than the record shows at this point. So that could be a real tough game for Sweet Home. We don't know if other than the Ken West game, if they played a real quality opponent just yet. You know,
Lockport played. Didn't they play?
I'm talking Sweet Home right now.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the only reason why I'm giving an edge right now to Grand Island over that. If you look at the teams they've played so far, right? Amherst has struggled early out in the gates. You've got Niagara Wheatfield again, hasn't really turned it on themselves either, and then Ken West, which has been kind of a little bit off and on.
Yeah. So I mean, like we're talking Sweet Home there. They're playing teams with a combined record. They're 3 of their wins have a combined record of 2 wins.
That's the edge
7
why.
losses.
That's the edge why I'm giving to now to Grand Island.
So I can understand that. So we're going to find out how good Sweet Home is. Again, the win over Amherst was a closer game than it probably should have been. And then they had the other win out of Niagara Wheatfield, and we're not sure how good Niagara Wheatfield is just yet. Sitting at 1-2, they get a date with Kenmore West on Saturday. So we'll have to see how good Sweet Home is in this game against Lockport. I think will tell us a lot, and we got our eyes on Star Point. They're going to want something to say here.
Lockport's a little different. They'll go to the air too. That's where they will. I mean, you're talking about Jason Green goes 8 for 8, 235 yards, 5 touchdowns against North Tonawanda, and then their wide receiver we've talked about before, Logan Went, 3 receptions, 80 yards, 3 touchdowns just by himself.
So that's Monsignor Martin, AA and A. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with the B, C's, and D's. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the matchups that we're live streaming this weekend. You're watching WNY High School Football Weekly.
I love being home.
There's nothing better than owning the perfect house to come home to. You've earned it, and we'll make it happen. Our local real estate experts and in-house team of financial professionals make buying or selling your home simple. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
I love being home.
Are you in pain from a no-fault car accident? Don't wait. Call RES Physical Medicine and Rehab today and take advantage of our 24 to 48-hour appointment pledge. One of our medical professionals will see you within 48 hours. RES offers DXD imaging for a more accurate diagnosis in less time. This allows our doctors to coordinate the most effective treatment plan to get you on your way to recovery faster. Feel better with RES Physical Medicine and Rehab. Click or call today to learn more.
Welcome back to WNY High School Football Weekly. I'm your host, Frank Wolf, joined by my tag team partner, Tommy Prince. Tom, I think you should wear a mask one of these times.
It's that scary to see that face every day.
No, my tag team partner. You know, like, who's that great wrestler?
Oh, Rey Mysterio?
Something like that. Yeah, it'd be cool if you wore a mask. My tag team partner.
Maybe for Halloween we'll do that.
Our Halloween show. Oh, I'm getting ideas. I shouldn't. Oh, man. All right, we're moving on to the Bees. Tom, we touched on this a couple minutes ago. Maritime, they're now 1-2, and they had that tough week against Canisius. They're getting Roy Hart, Barker, Lindenville this week. They just beat Burgard 54-0. The week before they lost to Canisius 59-0. They were shut out 2 weeks in a row, so they scored their first points. But here you go. This is their upcoming schedule. Roy Hart, Barker, Lindenville. Then they're at Cheektowaga. They're all away games, except for Albion. They got Roy Hart at Cheektowaga and at Maryville. And then it's Albion at home and then at Newport. So their schedule loosens up a little bit here. I don't know what Roy Hart, Barker, Lindenville is going to be able to do against this team.
It's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a tough one. But then Cheektowaga. We'll talk about this a little bit more next week. But Maritime, you know, they're getting some honorable mentions, but not ranked, definitely not state ranked, and they're not even listening to me when I'm trying to argue for them. And I know Miggy's also on that same committee of voting. There's a couple other guys from around here, but I'm a little surprised only because we knew Canisius was going to beat Maritime by multiple touchdowns. We thought that the Bennett game might be close, and really it was one offensive touchdown, one special teams touchdown, and we don't know if Maritime was throwing their top quarterback at these teams, if they were just looking to get him some time, see what they had there. Young kid.
Sophomore. Transfer from Cleve Hill.
I just wondering if they're being punished for those first two games. I mean, they beat that. I mean, this 54-0 over Burgard. They were licking their chops waiting for this game to get going into class play. I thought that should have at least got them on the list.
It was like 48-0 at halftime, I want to say.
Yeah, so I thought that would at least get them. And I don't know where they were ranked in the small school poll this week. I don't recall.
They were just, if they did, they just got in. It was still just the problem is, are people still looking at a record and they're looking at 1 and 2?
Understood.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. I don't disagree with you, but I think that's what they're looking at right now. And you're going to see that change in the next couple of weeks. You really will.
Yeah, I mean, this week, I mean, they may have another 54-0 game this Friday night. It's certainly possible. Cheektowaga will be that litmus test. If they get out of Cheektowaga with a touchdown to 3 touchdown advantage there, they're right up there with Iroquois. I would have to think.
Well, they're up there with Iroquois, period.
Okay.
They really are.
Okay. We're on the same page.
Yeah, I don't think I need to see a Cheektowaga game to know that they're on that par. They're on that par. There's no doubt about it. You know, the game actually I circle more than want to see where they stand is Albion.
Okay. Well, I was just about to talk about Albion because we haven't really shown them a ton of love just yet, but we're starting to. You know, they had a win over Maryvale, and then Wilson last week. Bill Atlas, I talked to him briefly over text after that game, and he told me this was a great team, flat out, this is a great football team. You're going to be talking about them. Now, right now, Tom, they get Burgard this week on the road at All High. And then they have Lew-Port at home and then a Cheektowaga matchup. So there's a chance that they could be rolling into Maritime. The two of those teams could be like 6 or 7,
Well, one will be undefeated in conference, and then Albion could be undefeated.
They both could be undefeated in conference play when they get to that. So that's the circle
Look
game.
at their last two matchups, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Medina, Class C, they'll be
but
able
it's
to play
still going to be a match. Oh, that's what I'm
They
saying.
should
Is
be
it's
able to-
still going to be a great matchup.
Yeah.
And Albion.
That's Albion.
I know.
That's
I agree. Albion obviously built to run the ball too, was what we've seen, right? Shaquille Riley, 11 carries, 135 yards, and 3 touchdowns in that game against Wilson. And then Amari Jones, their quarterback, 71 yards, a touchdown and interception, but also carried the ball 7 times for 83 yards and a touchdown. They're going to run the ball.
Yeah, their defense ain't too bad either. If you look at Brandon LeBaron, Jacob Houston, and Jameek Riley doing very well, making a lot of tackles for loss. Riley's got 3 sacks on the season for Albion already. So that was a team that was at the stadium last time we were there. They played Maritime. So it's not like it's a program nobody's ever heard of or paying attention to. They traditionally have tough teams.
No,
It looks like they have another one here in 2021.
Tom, why am I blanking on Tom's last name? Was the
Rapisi?
quarterbacks? No.
Oh, Formansky.
Formansky, thank you. That was when Tom Formansky was the quarterback for Albion there.
Yeah. Cheektowaga gets West Seneca East this week, Tom. I saw West Seneca East last week. They didn't really throw the ball. They didn't have to against Pioneer. But their line play, you would have been extremely impressed with their offensive line. Pioneers, too. They had a great line there, too. But this running attack was a little different than what I've seen out of West Seneca East the last few years. It was similar to when they had Sean Dolak back there, but a three-headed attack, if you will, and they got the job done against Pioneer. I think they had like an 8 or 9 minute possession, and they just took the wind out of the sails for Pioneer. They did a great job. I was very impressed with the West Seneca East team on both sides of the ball. Both teams turned it over quite a bit in the first half. They settled in, but for the most part, Pioneer just couldn't get the ball back.
Yeah, this is the good litmus test for me for both teams, right? I want to see where they stand. I think this will really see where does Cheektowaga and West Seneca East stand in this.
Without a doubt, Iroquois they've been rolling after that big win over Southwestern. Tom, it's just been one great effort after another. They get through Dunkirk, Tonawanda, and now they get Lakeshore. A team coming off their first win of the season. Pioneer lost. Dunkirk's back on pause, unfortunately. East Aurora Holland isn't going to play this weekend. That game versus Olean, and Olean 0-3. You mentioned that. When's the last time you saw an 0-3 Olean team? I couldn't tell you. But that's rounding out the B class. Let's get in. Do you have something to add
for Iroquois, Trevor Berry, right?
Okay.
22 carries, 245 yards. He was one of our big 200-yard guys, and 3 touchdowns he had in that game for Iroquois. Boy, I'm going to tell you, this running attack's been getting better and better and better each week for Iroquois. Boy, they now start getting stronger to be able to pass the ball and run the ball. How dangerous is that Iroquois team going to be?
We'll have to wait and see. We know how dangerous they are.
Oh, yeah.
Kleitz is having a phenomenal season.
And absolutely, he has 3 touchdowns himself with 238 yards. But what you're saying is before coming into the season, all you would say is, boy, this is Kleitz's team. He's going to lead the way. And absolutely it is. But now you're getting a running attack to go with this passing attack. Just shows how much better they are getting because these younger players now are getting more and more acclimated to the system, getting more playing time, and now doing some big things.
We're going into the C's now. C South, a big game this weekend is Salamanca heading up to Cassadaga Valley. Falconer Maple Grove is CSFMG. CDMG. They actually got a win last week. They're playing. I told you guys before the season, they are going to be a tough team to play. They may not win a lot of games, but they're going to still, you're going to be in a football game when you play this team because those kids are pretty passionate and they're tough and they show up and they ball out. And they got some players there. They have some players there. So this is going to be a big, big test for Coach Bart and his staff at Salamanca. They're 3-0, and I think that game there is going to say a lot about Salamanca. And they've got players. They got 2 that were already nominated for Conley Cup.
They've already had a couple games that said exactly who they are. Salamanca's for real. I mean, you're counting them. If you count them out at all, you are absolutely nuts because they are going to be doing some big things this
You're
season.
going to get them next Thursday.
Yep.
Is that Fredonia Salamanca? Who is that Salamanca playing?
Yeah, Salamanca Fredonia, I
Okay.
think it is, yeah.
So that's the team that's going to be waiting to see who wins this game because they get Kiwanda Pine Valley 7 p.m. on Friday. That's the Fredonia game. Whitfield and Lotter doing their thing down in Fredonia.
Jesse Stallman, that running back for Salamanca, is for real, right? 22 carries, 151 yards, and a touchdown against Allegheny Limestone. I mean, these guys can run the ball, but their quarterback, Maddox Isaac, 7 for 10, 201 yards, and 3 touchdowns against Allegheny Limestone, too. I'm telling you, this is a double attack, and I'll tell you, I look at that line play, very, very strong line for Salamanca.
Southwestern got a big win last week. They take on Chautauqua Lake this week, so let's see if Southwestern can climb back into the playoff race. Going into the Central, Lackawanna, Depew, and Eden North Collins there, a couple of 2-1 teams, and then Lackawanna at 1-2. JFK's at 0-3. Springville, you're doing them on Monday. They play Eden North Collins Monday. Is that the game you guys are doing, or is that Springville?
Isn't it Newfane?
Is it Newfane Springville?
Yeah, I think it's Newfane Springville, yeah.
You guys are doing that Monday night at Springville. We've never been there before, so we're going to do our first game there. Alden gets Depew. They're 1-1 right now. Depew looking to get back on the winning track. It's a Friday 7 p.m. game.
Depew's last loss, that was out of conference.
It was out of conference. That was the Randolph game.
Yep.
You know, so.
Listen, Randolph is for real. They've already been stepping out and doing some big things.
And Lackawanna, did you see them last week? Was that the game you guys did against Medina? Talk about that program and the young quarterback they have.
Yeah, good for Bill Geschel. William Geschel is their quarterback. Again, this kid's tough as nails, I'll tell you. He was really taking Lackawanna, put him on his shoulders. What you saw from him was he's a kid that can act like a running back, but, oh, by the way, he's got a gun, too. He can easily throw the ball and pass the ball, and he was big being able to help Lackawanna stay in that game up to halftime.
Nice. So Medina, they're 3-0. Akron's 3-0. You're doing that game on Friday night with Mark Johnson. Is Mark Johnson calling that game with you? Okay. You and Mark will get a front row seat to a couple of heavyweights out of C North, and we'll have to see how that game goes. So I'm looking for your reports. Cleve Hill's sitting at 2-1. They get St. Mary's this week in a non-leaguer. We'll have to see if their speed can slow down that St. Mary's running back. Newfane's they're 0-3. I thought they had one win. No,
they just took Akron to the brink.
Yeah.
Remember, they were up in that game,
That's
lost
right.
late to Akron 22-21.
So Newfane and Tonawanda both looking at 0-3, going to have a hard time climbing back into that playoff race in that respective division. Is only the top 2 from each go, and then there's like a wild card in there or something. How does that work? You get 2, and then 2 more teams. Okay, so
it's a top 2 as far as records and everything.
Medina, Akron seem like they're in control there, but one of them's got to lose this weekend. Then Wilson and Cleve Hill can battle it out maybe for that third spot. If that's where they select
and Wilson
from.
with a win over them, that's a big win right now.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. All right, Tommy Boy, we're going down to D's. We're moving along pretty good here. CSP still undefeated at 3-0. Randolph with a win against Depew. They go at it Saturday, 12:30. I think I'm heading down there. Pretty sure I'm heading down there. That game's in Panama. I know I'm going to be late if I get there, so maybe they can delay kickoff for me. What do you think?
You late? No, that never happens.
I'm leaving the Buffalo area about 11:05 when Michael gets out of soccer practice, and it's a beeline down to Panama. So I will see a ticket in our future.
And I'll be at Bennett Orchard Park for that one. And by the way, Orchard Park's homecoming too, so that KB game comes even bigger.
Ooh. Well, are you talking I'm going to hit some traffic somewhere?
No, what are you going to do? You're not driving through Orchard Park, so I'm not really worried about you in traffic over that way.
I heard
this ain't no Bills game.
I heard that the possible king
no,
of the homecoming.
Don't go down that route.
I'm just saying. It might be crazy down there. Franklinville, Ellicottville, and Portville are moved to 2-1. Franklinville is going to play up here in Tonawanda at Cardinal O'Hara. So if you want to check out the Titans, they'll be pretty close to us here. And Portville gets the Allegheny Limestone. Portville lost to CSP last week, and then Silver Creek hanging in there. They're 0-3, but then short on numbers. But they get Little Valley this week, coming off a win over Cardinal O'Hara. A nice win for their program, and those two guys will go at it Friday night at 7 p.m. Tom, we've gone through all the classes. Is there a surprise out there? If you were to look at all these teams from Monsignor Martin all the way down to D, Is there one team that's surprising you right now? That maybe they're 0-3, or maybe they're 3-0, or what? If there's a team out there that surprised you, who is it? And why?
Hamburg.
Okay.
Hamburg at 3-0 right now. I think that, to me, is the biggest surprise we've seen so far. When you look at everything else, is there really a shock that's out there? There's been a game here and there that's already shocked us, but when you're talking about overall body, Hamburg has stepped up big early in this season right now. That's the team that has stepped up.
I mean, the Niagara-Wheatfield game out of the gate was a toss-up. Well, we're not sure what we got here, but then they beat Williamsville East on the road, and they beat them by almost 20 points. Then the big win where they shut out West Seneca West. That was the we're here.
Yep.
That was the we're here game. So
I agree, and I think that's the best way to say is we're here. Watch out. You better count us into the mix because we're going to be right there in the end.
So we are. 4 teams make it from the south and 4 make it from the north.
Yep.
And right now they're in the driver's seat. But we did talk about their schedule here on out, and they got
the gauntlet to run now.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. So Thursday, you want me to take a break again? We just took all right, Heidi wants us to take a break. We're going to send it back to our sponsors. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We'll wrap it up in the next segment.
Paul Wolf Agency, how can I help?
I got a problem. I got a big problem. The house flooded overnight, everything's destroyed, and I don't know what to do.
You can relax. The wolf is on his way.
What's the damage?
It's bad.
As opposed to good? It's 20 minutes away. I'll be there in 10.
You're Teddy?
Yes, sir.
I'm Paul Wolf. I solve problems.
Oh, good, because I got a big one in here.
May I come in?
Absolutely. Mr. Wolf, can I get you a cup of coffee?
Welcome back to WNY High School Football Weekly, episode 4. Tommy, you've got some numbers you were putting together. Why don't we go through some of your top performances? And you're going to put this out on the web in a little bit at some point, right?
Yeah, we're going to call them Tom's top performances, right? We'll go week to week on it. What I'm going to do is I've done it for quarterbacks. I've done it for running backs, wide receivers, and defense. So what I'm looking for, at least to be able to make this, right, for a quarterback, I want to see at least over 250 yards or 3 touchdowns or more. Running backs, 150 yards or 3 touchdowns or more. Wide receivers, 100 yards or 3 touchdowns or more. And defense, at least 10 tackles to be able to make these lists. So big numbers, right? Leading the way, Noah Willoughby, South Park, 23 for 29, 451 yards, 5 touchdowns this week. He had a great week. Tyler Baker, Canisius, 22 for 31, 406 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, 7 carries for 96 yards and a touchdown. 502 yards come from Baker and 4 touchdowns. Him and Willoughby, unbelievable numbers. Carson Marcus, we talked about it, from Star Point, 24 for 31 with 301 yards, 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Jaden Kennedy from Iroquois, 13 for 19, 256 yards and a touchdown, and he carried the ball 11 times for 80 yards with 3 touchdowns running the ball. Trey Kleitz for Iroquois, 19 for 29 with 238 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jason Green from Lockport, 8 for 8, 235 yards, 5 touchdowns. Xander Payne from Medina, 11 for 23, 164 yards, 3 touchdowns. Here's one that's been I think we haven't talked about enough. Lucas Marsh down at Franklinville, Ellicottville, 9 for 11, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Carried the ball twice for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been putting them on his back, no doubt about it.
45.5 yards per carry?
That's something, right? And then the last one for my quarterbacks is Jaden Kennedy from Lakeshore. We talked about him. 7 for 12 with 120 yards and a touchdown, and carried the ball 16 times for 102 yards and 3 touchdowns right there. That's my Tom's top performances to look out from the quarterback position. Running back, we talked about it already. 3 guys over 200 yards. Trevor Berry from Iroquois, 22 carries, 245 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Xander Hine from Randolph, 33 carries, 229 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Torrey Anderson from Bennett, 11 carries, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Austin Serrata, Eden North Collins, 17 carries, 197 yards, 3 touchdowns. Micah Harry, Lancaster, 31 carries, 161 yards. Jamison Walsh, Southwestern, 17 carries, 156 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jesse Stallman, Salamanca, 22 carries, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Mike Doctor from Canisius. Oh, I apologize. That's one of my receivers. I apologize. Luke Paget, Randolph, 17 carries for 138 yards and 3 touchdowns. Shaquille Riley, Albion, 11 carries, 135 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kendall Donovan, 15 carries for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns, and had 2 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown. And Jacob Zimmerman, Lancaster, 16 carries, 72 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Lancaster. There's our running backs right there.
Couple freaks of the week candidates right there. We're going to be talking about that in just a few moments. We have our freak of the week worked out already. We did that pregame. A little arm wrestling match again, but Tom won again. But so we're going to go with his guy. No, we decided it was a pretty mutual decision. Again, look, what can you say?
You're drawing straws. You really are.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so
3,
many
4
good
touchdowns a
performances.
week,
Yeah.
3 rushing and a passing touchdown. There's a couple guys that did that. It's tough to do that. Saturday we're doing Joe's Canisius. Monday you're doing. I have Eden Springville, but it's Newfane Springville. I need to figure out what I'm doing. There was a meeting yesterday. The football chairman headed down to Orchard Park, a meeting at Highmark Stadium. Right now, all systems go. They're set to run the championship weekend, week 10, in Orchard Park at Highmark Stadium. So that's still looking good there for that. So, and then the first week of December is Carrier Dome. So
Which is back, because normally it was Thanksgiving week, right?
they moved it back.
Yep.
Yes, they moved it back. So we'll be out there doing our thing out at the Carrier Dome. Hopefully, we're expected to. Right now, as in years past, Spectrum has the rights for the stadium. And traditionally, they only do the AA and A game. Whereas the B, C, and D, they shut anyone out from doing it, or you have to pay rights fees or whatever. If you want to see the B, C, and D game, you need to get on the horn or start emailing someone at Section 6 or Spectrum to allow them to release the rights to us. We'll gladly do those games. We'll do a real good job at it, but right now it's out of our hands. There's a good chance you will not see the B, C, or D game week 10 at the stadium because Spectrum has the rights, and I'm pretty sure they're only going to do the A and AA game, which means B, C, and D will get shut out. If you want to see them live streamed, we'll do them, but you got to make some noise. I can't keep calling down there and asking them to let us do them. You guys have to do it. You got to say, we want WNY Athletics doing these games. You know what to do. I gave you the playbook. Tommy, what else you want to add to this program?
Do you want me to go over wide receivers and defense? Do we want to go those?
Give us a few. Give us a handful of them.
Okay, your top, then we'll give you top 3. For Kenmore East, your top receiver, 9 receptions, 193 yards, and a touchdown. Evan Floss from Star Point, 11 receptions, 135 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And Lucas Brown for Salamanca, 4 receptions for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lamar Thomas, Canisius, 6 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown. And Nate McGoldrick from Iroquois, 7 receptions, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Our top 5 right there. Top 5 defensive guys. Garrett White, we talked about the quarterback at Clarence, 18 tackles. Scott Raymond from Clarence, 16 tackles. Matt Giardini from Allegheny Limestone, 13 and a half. Jamario Tolliver Bennett, 13 tackles and a sack. And Cross Rapini from Orchard Park with 13 tackles. There's your top 5 right there.
Well, we got some guys that might make that Mount Crushmore.
Yeah.
I mentioned 1 or 2 of them. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. We don't have a lot of time left. Let's talk about that Freak of the Week, the Logistics Plus Freak of the Week. Tom and I are going to award this week to Canisius's Tyler Baker for his performance against McKeesport. Tyler Baker is the Week 4 Freak of the Week, presented by Logistics Plus. And, Tom, you were out there picking up the trophies today. Yeah, we had 3 prizes. Is he the third one?
Yeah, third. Yep.
We had Xander Hine, Jalen Butera. Okay, our third one. Jalen Butera, Week 1. Xander Hine, Week 2. And now Tyler Baker joins them. So is that a first quarterback?
Yep.
First quarterback made Freak of the Week. So we'll get the trophies out soon. You picked up the trophies today, didn't you?
I did.
You like them? You happy with them?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anything else before we wrap this? Heidi, do you have anything to contribute today?
Nope.
Okay.
You got my name right, though. That's
I
good.
did. I asked. Did a great job producing today, as always. Tom, is there a game you're looking forward to this week? Like, more than anything, this is the game you want to see.
South Park Will South is probably the game I want to see, and I'm going to be there for.
Cool.
And I want to say a very close second is Bennett Orchard Park.
I heard there's this middle linebacker at Orchard Park or lineman at Orchard Park that's starting to come out of his shell and be a bit of a force. Do you happen to know who this guy is?
Yeah, he had a good game against Lancaster. He started stepping up. He's got a long ways to go. He has a lot to work on, and he's talking about my son Luke Prince. No doubt about it. I'm not going to sit here and say he's beat all him. He's got a lot of work on, but I'm telling you, it was a good start, and he's starting to make an impact.
Well, my son's still picking his nose and wetting the bed, so we won't be talking about him for any time soon. But either way, I'm looking forward to this Randolph CSP game.
Another good one, yeah.
And I'm also looking forward to this Medina-Akron game, actually. Akron, a couple years ago, we thought that they were getting closer, and then the spring season, we thought they'd be pretty good, but COVID had their, threw a monkey, a wrench into the, what's the saying?
A wrench. There were a wrench in there.
There were a wrench in there. So Akron, I'm glad to see that they're back. And with that, we will sign off for today. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Maybe not the same time. Maybe a little later. We'll do a 7 p.m. show next Wednesday night. You're watching on WNYathletics.com. It's the High School Football Weekly Show. See you next week, everybody. Have a good night.
When you're ready to buy a home, start your search at howardhanna.com. You'll be the first to see new listings, find similar properties, and connect with a local Howard Hanna agent. Get started today at howardhanna.com.